Hello everyone, and this is Gene with another great freebie from the internet. Today's freebie is one I have been using for several years, and I happen to love the company that it comes from. I have several of their products, and I've had nothing but good things to say about them for several years now. Now, I'm going to move my screen to the very top because I have the standard Windows 7 desktop background here. A very pretty picture of a White House, probably somewhere in New England. But the reason I moved my screen was to show you this. Notice this yellow colored semicircle at the very top of my screen. Now, it doesn't appear to be anything right now, but watch this. When I hover over it, three prongs come out to give you options to use this particular tool. Now, the tool is called Jing, J-I-N-G, and it's from a company called TechSmith. They make Snagit, Camtasia Studio, and many other products for many years now. Now, when we hover over the first prong, you see it gets a little larger, and the word capture appears. Now, what this first prong is used for is to screen capture. Now, I know there are many free screen capture programs out there, but some of them come with gimmicks, and some of them don't work so well. This one has no gimmicks, and it works very well. And when I left click on that circle, we are ready to capture. Notice that I have some crosshairs. And carefully look in the middle of the crosshairs and you'll see two numbers. In this case, it happens to be 1292 by 728. That is the current size that it wants to capture. However, when you use your mouse and you drag an area, you notice that you can control that number. You can control the size. You can control the width. You can control the height. Once you select the size that you want, another tool appears down at the bottom. Now, notice the first one says Capture Image. Now, what that means is whatever you have highlighted and circled in this 942 by 463 size right now, it will capture. And it will capture it as a picture. The particular format of that picture will be .png. In other words, a PNG file. Now, that's the only choice you have. You cannot capture as a JPEG with this particular free version. However, PNG works fine. It's a very popular file format, and you can learn to use it quite readily. Now, notice that the next icon says Capture Video. Now, there's no reason to capture video at this point. After all, nothing is happening on my screen. However, in the next lecture, we're going to capture a video where there is movement. And then we'll see just how well the Capture Video tool works. The third icon is a redo selection. So when we select that little arrow, we get back to where we were before. Here, we can choose a new selection. So I'm going to drag out a tall picture of just the lighthouse. And there's the four icons again. Notice this particular size is 311 by 609. In other words, 609 pixels tall and 311 pixels wide. And notice when I hover over any area inside the highlighted area, a four-arrow cursor occurs. By pushing down the left button on your mouse, you can rearrange this image to fit anything you choose. For example, if I were to do the lighthouse, I would probably not center it, and I'd want it something like so. However, what if I'm not happy with the size? I can go to the edge here and notice that a little window occurs telling me exactly how many pixels I'm making here. So for example, let's say I wanted a 400 by 600. I would come up to 600 here. And then on the left side, I'm going to pull that out until it's 400. Now I have a 400 by 600 image. Now I'm still not done. I can actually still move it. And in this case, I might move it to about here, let's say. Now I've taken this Windows 7 desktop background and I've captured an image that I could use in other places. Now, in order to capture the image, we'll go back down to the toolbar, we'll hover over Capture Image, and we'll select it. Now a new window occurs. Notice the 400 by 600 image is inside this tool. Now let's look at the tools up in the upper left. The first thing you have is an arrow. We'll try that in a second. However, let's go to the text and see that this T represents the ability to write text on this image. The Frame tool allows you to draw a frame. It'll be a rectangle, but you can control the size and shape of it. The fourth tool is a highlight tool, and we'll come back to that in a minute too. However, before I do any of those, I'd like to go to the fifth button, which is the tool color. In this case, it happens to be green. Well, if I select the color, I can choose from these 9 colors. Now let's just choose this magenta here. We're not limited to these 9 colors. We could go into a custom button here and then control it just by going here and manipulating these tools to get the exact color that we choose. And just like many programs, you can actually hover in this area and decide which selected color you'd like. And you can also control the opacity. But we're not going to do that. We're going to cancel. We're going to accept the magenta color that's on the 9-frame color screen. So now let's go to our arrow, and let's say I wanted to point out the circular device at the top of the White House. I will just drag my cursor and I'm making an arrow as I do. Now once I release the left button on my mouse, you'll notice there's 2 boxes here. Well, here you can manipulate the arrow that you made. You can make it longer, shorter, from either end. So we'll manipulate this so we're just looking at the device, whatever it happens to be, at the top of the lighthouse. The next tool is a text tool. So we'll select that text tool. Notice that the green color is the tool color at this point. Let's just keep that color green. Now when we go into our image area with the text tool selected, we click once and a new screen appears that allows us to type whatever we wish. Let's not get too creative. We'll just call it Lighthouse. Now notice the little boxes at each corner of this area, and you see that you can manipulate it also. Now you don't want to cut it off too much, like for example here I'm cutting my actual text, but if you open it up, you could even create a second line of text. And then by hitting enter, a third line. Now that we have 3 lines, we might want to adjust our box area to fit the 3 lines that we have. And notice when I move it too much into the text, it's going to rearrange the text. So this would be too large, this would be too small, but this would be just right. But we do have a green box, but notice the default color of the text was red. Well, if we hit the red, we can actually change the color of the text, but for this example, we'll leave it red. Now, if I don't like the position of the box, I can take my arrow tool and move the box around. So let's say we'll put it right here. And then the next tool down is a frame. So when we select frame and you drag an area out, you'll have whatever color is defaulted, selected, and highlighted with a box. And of course you have the same type of controls here at each corner. So let's say we wanted to get this area and highlight this particular area of our image. Now the next tool is a highlight tool. So when we drag that, we get the same rectangle, which we can manipulate, of course. And what we'll do here is we'll just highlight this window right here. And now we've used each of the tools with different colors. So this doesn't look like anything is going to win any graphic achievement awards. However, that's all we need to demonstrate at this point. Now down below at the bottom there are several buttons. The first one is Share via Screencast.com. Now this is a free service from TechSmith.com where you can store your devices, much the way you would with many of the services. However, this is free. And we're going to cover this in a future lecture. Share via screencast.com. The next button is a Save button. This is your standard Windows Save button. Just the way you would save something in any program, this is where you save it in Jing. Next to that is the Copy button. You can copy this image into your queue, and then you can paste it into, let's say, a Paint program or Photoshop. So you copy it here, then when you open up your program, you simply hit Control V or Paste, and voila, you will have this image in that program. If you want to cancel this particular image capture, this is where you do it. The next button is to customize the Jing buttons. However, I like them just the way they are. The one we're interested in is Save. So we're going to click the Save button to save this to someplace on our computer. So I'm going to select Save, and of course now your standard Windows saving box occurs. We'll simply choose our desktop here, and as an instructor at several colleges teaching graphic and video editing and computer type programs, I have many techniques that I impart to my students, and one of those tips that I'm constantly handing out is don't put things on your desktop. It only slows down your computer. And before you know it, you have a mess to look at, but also you're actually affecting the ability of your computer to open up each time you turn it on. But for this demonstration, I'm going to break my own rule and place it on the desktop. Now let's move this up a bit, and we see that it's picked up the name, but it's placed a .png. That's a PNG file that we spoke of earlier. Now there is an arrow here in the Save As type, but when I select it, only the PNG is available. That is a particular limitation that I don't find a limitation of this program. PNGs are an excellent file to work with, and if you haven't worked with them in the past, make certain that you start using them because they are wonderful for the internet. They are prolific, and unfortunately JPEG is the most common file, and that's what you're familiar with. But please grow your knowledge base and learn to use the PNG format. So I'm going to hit Save, and a box opens up saying Capture Saved. Your capture has been saved and the file path is ready to be pasted. We can go and open the file at this point, but we're going to simply hit Close for this particular demonstration. Now at this particular point, we don't see it on my desktop. That is because I've hidden my icons. By the way, this is a clever little trick that I have when I use Windows 7. I right-click on the desktop area and I can view various size of icons, small, medium, and large. But check this out. I can show my desktop icons, or I can navigate over to this window and show the desktop icons. So there is our award-winning graphic PNG. Now the reverse is true, of course. I can right-click on my desktop, go to View, go and show desktop icons. No, we can uncheck it. So that's a good little tip that I'm not going to charge you extra for here. Show desktop icons, there's our award-winning PNG. Now depending on how the defaults are set up in your particular computer, double-clicking on this file will open it in different programs. Another tip I like to show you is rather than double-click on it, right-click and choose how you want this to open. Now Open is going to open it in the default program that is set under Properties here. You see that in my case, a PNG file is going to be opened by Adobe Photoshop CS6. Well, I really don't want to use that, and I can go and change it at this time to another program. I'm a graphic artist, so Photoshop makes sense for me to open up. I'm constantly in there. However, how about just a simple Windows Photo Viewer? So we're going to hit OK. And now that Windows Photo Viewer is going to open up all my PNG files. So although this little information has nothing to do with Jing, it has everything to do with you growing your knowledge base about computers. So let's just hit OK here. And now when we double click award-winning graphic PNG, it opens up in Where? The Windows Photo Viewer. And here's the image we created. Again, we're probably going to win all sorts of graphic design awards with this fabulous image that we've created. However, we're not going to brag about it. So that's your first look at Jing. We're going to come back with more lectures. Look for more lectures. Make sure you like us. Make certain you subscribe to us. And don't forget to share this fabulous knowledge with all your friends, the way I have shared my knowledge with you, my friend. Goodbye, and we'll see you in the next lecture.